world of everything. Hello, welcome back to Colin the Head's World of Everything for the eagerly awaited episode 2 to my show. And today we've come to the medieval centre of Pontefract, to Pontefract Castle, to see what Pontefract Castle's all about. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go inside and see what Pontefract Castle's got to offer the local tourist. Right, so the castle was first constructed in the 7th century, and it was just a simplistic wooden fort, you know, and it just housed a few soldiers to protect the medieval town of Pontefract. And like I says, it was just a simplistic wooden fort, but there were loads of battles fought here, and people fighted for this castle here in Pontefract. You know, you take a look around now and it's just a simple ruin. Hardly anybody even known that once upon a time, right, there was a massive castle here, housing thousands and thousands of people. It was like the nerve centre of Pontefract. This was at the centre of Pontefract. So, back in 1080, what happened was the actual old castle was overhauled, and it was obviously dismantled and rebuilt, and it was built out of local stone. In 1080, just after the Domesday survey, and as you can see, it was built out of local stone. This sort of stone, the castle was built entirely out of this sort of stone, which is sandstone. Castle was built out of sandstone, which were locally sourced material. Sandstone were a very easily sourced material around Pontefract. So they built castle out of it back in 1080, you know what I mean? The castle was built by Hilbert de Lacy. Now, the de Lacys were a big family, and also Hilbert de Lacy, right, were best mates with the great William the Conqueror. And William the Conqueror just said, build me a castle, Hilbert. So Hilbert just thought, yeah, I'll just build this castle, right? And in return for building the castle, the de Lacy family were able to ravish the north of England and buy vast amounts of land, big plots of land. And they were a big family back then, you know what I mean? In 1531, Catherine Howard, who was Henry VIII's wife, got caught performing a sexual act on Sir Thomas Culpeper. She spent the night with Sir Thomas Culpeper in the royal apartments at Pontefract Castle, and because of this she got found out about it, and she got beheaded with every out trial. Henry VIII just said, no, I'm not having this, Catherine, it's time to get rid of you. So he just had her beheaded, you know, for performing oral sex on Sir Thomas Culpeper, and that actually happened way back then. Great, innit? And it happened here at the royal apartments at Pontefract Castle. So let's talk about the geology of the castle. Now the land, the actual castle itself, is sat on a natural rock platform, so it's stood up, and the land slopes away to the north, south and east of the castle. Now to the west, which is behind me, that's Pontefract in that direction, the land slopes up. So with the castle being on a natural rock platform and being pretty high up, it got near as damn it, a full 360-degree view of the local surrounding area. Now, rumour has it, and it hasn't actually been proved, but there was also a network of tunnels which went from the actual castle into Pontefract to the surrounding area. So if the castle ever got invaded, you know, there was actually an escape route out of the castle. But like I said, there's not actually anything documented to say that these tunnels actually exist. Another adultery event that happened at this castle, in 1569, Mary the Queen of Scots spent the night in the royal apartments, which are behind me, at this castle, and committed adultery with what was believed one of the castle's employees at the time. And that also happened at this castle, so it was a pretty horny castle, wasn't it, really? You know, everybody were getting it on at Pontefract Castle back in 1500s. Even Queen were coming for a jump, like, you know what I mean? So, just a little bit, just another fact about this castle, you know. Everybody were getting it on here back then. Couldn't believe it. Right, so we've come to the north side of the castle. And we've come to an area of the castle which is known as Swillington Tower. What Swillington Tower was an outcrop that went over the moat, and it was a tower. You see in the background in this area here. So here there'd been a walkway that had come up, which went outside the castle wall, and there was a Swillington Tower there, and it was a watchtower. So this would be the gate to Swillington Tower. I mean, if you're looking today, there's not much remnants, but if you look down there, you can obviously see, if this is the castle wall in front of me here, but there were actually a walkway, and the castle was obviously there. If you could just in front of that T-junction to the Monkhill railway station, that's where the Swillington Tower was, and it was just a watchtower. And if you look behind me, we've got some good views of Castleford and the surrounding area. So if you scope round and have a look, you know, you can see why as it were on a rock plateau, this castle. You can see, as you can see, it's raised up. And it gives good views to the north, to the east and to the west. Obviously that's the west, but you know, it gives good views all the way round really, to be fair, because it were raised up. But Swillington Tower would have been a first line of defence for actual Pontefract Castle from invaders coming from the north. So this part of the castle is the great kitchen and the bake and the brew house. So this is where all really the utility base of the castle would have been. Now behind me, these remains behind me, that is what is known as the great kitchen. So obviously kitchen were there, and obviously in this direction here, what is known as the bake and the brew house. So all beer will have been made there, all bread will have been made there, and all food will have been cooked over there. So this would have been probably a really busy area. Obviously a lot of the castle's employees would have actually been based in this area, would have actually worked here. In 1399, Richard II was deposed from the throne and fetched to Pontefract Castle. Now it was fetched to what this tower here, which is to my right, and it is known as the Gascoigne Tower. Richard II was physically abused here and left to die in the Gascoigne Tower. So he was left to die here. Now a little bit more about the Gascoigne Tower. Now next door to Gascoigne Tower in this area here, it's known as the Sallyport and the Well Tower. So this here would have been the water supply for Pontefract Castle. So obviously there would have been another tower here which would have housed the well and the water supply and the Sallyport for Pontefract Castle. And that is on the west side of the castle wall. We're on the west side at Castle Wall. So we've just come to the magazine. This is the cellar and the magazine at Pontefract Castle. Now it's closed today, as you can see. Got some padlocks on that and big metal doors, so we can't get in. But what this is the cellar. Obviously there's a cellar down there and it goes underground, and there's obviously chambers that lead off it. And this is the site where the rumoured one of the vast tunnels which left the castle would have started actually down this chiller, down this cellar. So obviously this is what we will use as a refrigerator. Obviously meat would have been kept down here, and obviously supplies for castle. Obviously it's the lowest point of the castle, that is the coldest point of the castle. So that's that's basically what it would have been used for. Also prisoners were kept down here and obviously left to die or whatever, but they were also used as a prison for the castle. So that's just a little bit about the cellar in the magazine. Right, so in 1311, the castle was passed to the House of Lancaster. The House of Lancaster only owned the castle for 11 years. What happened was the castle took off the House of Lancaster in the Battle of Boroughbridge. 11 years after he'd got castle. And then what happened to the castle after it had been took over and took from the House of Lancaster? It was given to the John of Gaunt. A guy called John of Gaunt bought Pontefract Castle and took it on and started living here as well. So it's had a lot of owners, this castle, really, and a lot of people have actually like owned it and passed it on and passed it on. And also, for losing the Battle of Boroughbridge, Thomas, the Duke of Lancaster, was beheaded outside Pontefract Castle as well. I'm Colin the Head. This is Colin the Head's World of Everything. Right, so in 1640, Pontefract Castle was a royalist stronghold. What happened is, in the English Civil War, the normal people invaded the castle, and the castle was fetched to ruins, and the castle was left to how it is today. So in 1640, that was the demise of Pontefract Castle. That was the end. And it's been left like this ever since. So that's just a little bit about Pontefract Castle. Now let's move on to our next item in the show. Colin the Head's World of Everything. Welcome back to Colin the Head's World of Everything. Now what we've come to now for a second item in the show. Now we've come to what is known as the Upton Rocket Tower. It's a general purpose tower. The person who owns it like rents it out. right? So different companies come to the Upton GPO tower and put the dishes and their antennas on it. When it was constructed in the late 60s, it was for analogue communications. With the demise of analogue, now we all know that analogue is in decline, right? You will find that on this tower there ain't as many dishes and antennas as what there used to be. So now it's just a big mobile phone tower, really. That's all it is. This is just a big mobile phone tower. And if you look, it's nowhere near as a busy tower as what it used to be. What I mean by that is there ain't as many antennas on it as what there used to be. I mean, I can remember when I was a kid, it was just crammed with satellite dishes. It was crammed with dishes and antennas, trowels and antennas, basically. But now, if you look, it's mainly mobile communications. Now, an interesting fact about this colossal structure which stands in Upton is if you do a search on internet for it, there's no facts about this tower. There's no actual specific facts, dates or when it was built. It was just put here in Upton on top of this hill. You know what I mean? It's in a high area, and it's actually like shrouded in some sort of secrecy. It's like they don't want to let all information out about it. So people in Upton, right, have got this massive chuffing rocket tower, right, at the back of the gardens, and they don't even know what it's for. So what is it for? You know what I mean? Who actually owns this tower in Upton? Nobody even knows. You know what I mean? It's like one of them little Upton's hidden facts about this tower, right? And nobody even knows what it is, or what it does, or what it's for. So when it were in main use, the sort of people that would have used a tower like this would have been police, ambulance, fire brigade. Gas board will have used it as well. Gas ball, and obviously your early mobile phone companies would have used this tower back in the analogue days when we had analogue telephones. But obviously, how things have come on now in the mobile phone industry, there's no need for big towers like this no more. Majority, like we featured in episode 1, we featured the humble mobile phone tower. Now that's the way it's going. Structures like this aren't needed no more. Legend has it, right, that Bill the Black, right, had an Antron 99 on top of this tower, and he was granted permission by its owner, even though it's shrouded in secrecy, this tower, right. Bill the Black, right, used to have an Antron on top of this tower, and he used to run his coax down Skull Street, you know what I mean? Bill the Black had his aerial on top of that tower right here in Upton. You can see that little rusty spike at top, right, that is the remnants of Bill the Black's CB antenna. That's all that's left, the rest is just blown away in wind. But he had his aerial on top of that tower. Sent his son up there with some coax and he strapped it to the top of the tower. And it was there for years. He transmitted from this tower in Upton for years. The legendary Bill the Black transmitted from the Upton GPO tower right here in Upton. I'm Colin the Head. This is Colin the Head's World of Everything. Colin the Head's World of Everything. Welcome back to Colin the Head's World of Everything. Now we've come to a place which is known as Nostell Priory. Now the house behind me, it's actually Paladian house behind me, was built in the 17th century. The house itself was built on the site of a monastery. Now the actual monastery were ripped down and this manor house behind me was built in the 17th century. Now the monastery, back in the 13th century, the Demise family also had a finger in the building of the actual monastery. Now you'll know from the earlier item in the show, Pontefract Castle, Cuthbert Demise had a lot to do with the Pontefract Castle as well, and we're in the same area, we're in the Pontefract area. So at the time the Delaces were a massive key player in the actual progression of the area. That's where the money was. The Demise were a very, very, very powerful family, and they also played the part in building the monastery here, right here at Nostell Priory. St Cuthbert and St Oswald come down to Nostell Priory and set up the monastery. The monastery did get torn down, and this Paladian house behind me got built in its place. And today, Nostell Priory is a tourist attraction. It's another local tourist attraction in the Pontefract area. And as you can see, it's a nice place to come. I mean, people just come out for a walk and stuff. know, to Nostell Priory for day out. Obviously, you've got to pay to get in house it's said, and there's obviously other attractions here. There's a fishing pond and stuff, and you know, you just come and have a day out at Nostell Priory, and it's a nice Christmas card scene today here at Nostell Priory. You know, it's a nice place to be. You know, we just thought we'd just fetch you here as well to this local tourist attraction that's just on your doorstep in Pontefract area, and a lot of people don't even know it's here. You know, you just drive by it on A63 and just think, oh, it's Nostell Priory. But if you actually come in and take a look round, it is a nice place to come and just have a, you know, a steady walk round. Like, you know, it's nice. It's all right at Nostell Priory. So another few facts about Nostell Priory is it's got its own visitor centre. The actual grounds and the house are owned by the National Trust. This is an actual National Trust site. So if you remember at National Trust, you'll get into house and all that for now if you're in with National Trust. It's also the base of the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. There's actually an helipad behind this house, behind the fishing ponds, and the actual Yorkshire Air Ambulance takes off and lands from Nostell Priory. Right, so we've come to house here at Nostell Priory, and look at it, how colossal and how much decoration has gone into building this house. I mean, look at them handrails made out of stone that go up there with them steps. It's like a palace or something, isn't it? It's like royalty live here or something. I mean, look at that big coat of arms at the top of that apex there. Look at them stones, look at finishing off how well it's been decored and how much it's been looked after. I mean, look at this big solid wooden door here. Wow. Some really important people must have lived here at some point in time. You know, don't just have an house of this vastness and colossalness. It's absolutely awesome. It's well worth coming to see. Right, so we've just come to the visitor centre here at Nostell Priory. And as you take a look around, there's tourists, there's people enjoying themselves. You know, there's a nice little cafe, you can come and have a cup of coffee and that. And it's all here at Nostell Priory. You know, it's the first Sunday after Christmas, and look how busy it is. And it's a nice place to come. And we're just here at Nostell Priory. I'm Colin the Head. This is Colin the Head's World of Everything. Behind me, these are the toilets, but these actually used to be the servant quarters, and where all the servants used to live. No, to look after Big Cheese in Manor House. But now they're just toilets. And this is like the stable area where we're actually, so this courtyard where we are, where all horses used to be kept, you know, horse and carts and that. Well, it used to be here, all here at Nostell Priory. What is this? What is this thing that we've found here? It could have been a trough, it could have been a bath. I mean, and it's just outside in this courtyard here at Nostell Priory, just down the road from Wakefield. I mean, look at this beautifully decorated line here that we've got. And obviously water must have like filled this up. So I think this personally were either for drinking water or it was for horses. You know what I mean? Because we're obviously within the stable area at Nostell Priory at the moment. And we're just looking at this beautifully decorated horse trough that's here. You know, it looks alright, doesn't it? I don't think it looked too bad. Time stops still for nobody in this world, and that is a fact, right? And look at this beautiful clock here at Nostell Priory with its golden hands and stuff. It looks quite nice in the Christmas sunshine at this time of year, you know. So everybody at Nostell Priory, right? When you come to Nostell Priory, it is a nice place to come, and you can get in for no absolutely sure. It ain't cost me a penny to come in here and do this video today. I'm Colin the Head. This is Colin the Head's World of Everything. Colin the Head's World of Everything. Speed cameras. Love them or hate them, but we've got them. The British government wants to have speed cameras at side of dangerous stretches of road in Britain. Obviously, it slows all the traffic down because every time this speed camera goes off, you get a fine. £60 and 3 points. That is the penalty for speeding, obviously, going through a speed camera too fast. But we're not just here to talk about that today on Colin the Head's World of Everything. What we're here to talk about is the actual history behind the actual speed camera. Now, the reason why the speed camera and how the speed camera was developed, now in the early 50s, the Gatsometer was produced, and what they used to do, they made the speed camera to measure average times for rally cars to go on through certain stages on a racetrack. Now that was the sole purpose of the speed camera. The speed camera was not developed to give people, motorists, big hefty speeding fines. That was never the reason for the actual make of what is actually known as the Gatsometer. People don't like them because they're just an easy way for police force to earn money. At the end of the day, right, if you're doing a few mile an hour over speed limit, right, and Gatso goes off, that's 60 quid straight into police coffers. You know what I mean? So that's why people don't like them. Now, I personally think, right, that they do a good job, right, and we've got them for a reason. But love them or hate them, you're stuck with the humble speed camera for the future to come. Right, just a little bit of how the speed camera works. If you look behind me, you've got two lenses. Now, one is a flash and one is a sensor. Obviously, the red one is the sensor and the white one is the flash. Now, if you look at these two lines on the road behind me here, see the lines for the speed camera? They're at a set distance apart. Now, the cameras will have a sensor on it to sense the speed of the vehicles as they drive over the line. Now, if the vehicle's breaking the speed limit, it will go between the 2 points on the lines on the floor faster than what the camera's set up. That will trigger the camera. Now, if anyone's ever set off a speed camera or gone through a speed camera too fast, you'll know when you've triggered it because you'll see it flash. But will you notice one thing? There's two flashes. So obviously, the car drives into the speed trap. I'll call it a speed trap. Too fast, that'll set off the first flash. Now the second flash is the flash that will determine how fast you are travelling through that speed trap. Two pictures for evidential reasons. Obviously the pictures will be timed, so they will know how fast you're travelling through that speed camera to how fast you are travelling. Colin the Head's top tip about speed cameras is to avoid getting done by a speed camera. Always try to drive below the speed limit and then you will safely be able to pass through every speed camera you ever come off. You'll never trigger the Gatsometer and you'll never trigger the double flashers. But that's just a bit of important advice from Colin the Head. Slow down, be safe. So that's just a little bit on the speed cameras. I think that wraps up today's show nicely. Thank you for watching Colin the Head's World of Everything. I hope to see you very soon. Bye. Colin the Head's World of Everything.